Hello everyone and welcome back. As some of you may know, our good friend Symmetra has been reworked for the third time. And you know what they say, third time's the charm. So I'll be giving a brief overview on the overall changes and then give my opinion on how I feel they have changed Symmetra and if it's for the best or possibly for the worst. So let's jump right in with her main fire, her primary fire photon projector, which has been increased to 10 meters and no longer locks on but acts as a Zarya beam where you have to be a bit better at tracking your enemies. For her alternate fire, her large orbs, they no longer pierce, but they do explode on impact and they do overall more damage. And the charge up is much faster, and it is extremely noticeable when you go from the PTR, where it's like in a second, to the live game where it takes like 3 seconds, it feels like, to charge up. Her sentry turrets, you can no longer place 6, you can only place 3. However, they are able to be thrown as a projectile to get to places that wouldn't have been able to be placed beforehand. The sad part is they are able to be destroyed, which is something to think about. And her new ability, her teleporter, is on her E. It's no longer her ultimate. It is just a basic ability she has. This can be placed up to 25 meters away from Symmetra, and it lasts for about 7 seconds, I believe, and has a 3-second recharge in total if it lasts entirely. It has a 10-second recharge. And for her ultimate, she has her photon barrier, which was originally one of her basic abilities, but they just steroided this up and made it a massive wall that spans the entire map in a direction and has 500 health, 5,000 health. Gonna add an extra 0 at the end of that. And that concludes her overall ability rework. And now for my opinion. Once again, it's my opinion. Doesn't really hold too much weight in life, but I thought I would just provide it and some constructive criticism where I see fit. So overall, I will say that I am in favor of this change, and I actually like a lot of what has changed with Symmetra. She does feel still more defensive, which is what they had originally planned for her, to be moved to the defense category until they completely got rid of the separate categories and just merged attack and defense into one giant category. But I do think it's still important to have some characters that have that niche of feeling a bit more defensive rather than just full-on offensive. I'm also in love with the changes to the secondary fire. Coming back to the live version of Overwatch after playing on the PTR for so long, it just felt so weird, and I never really realized how slow the orbs were until, of course, you speed them up a bit. And I think it will overall help in her damage category and even allow her to poke at range a bit. You still have to do some planning and predicting where the enemy will move in a time span of 2 to 3 seconds, but it's much more doable on the PTR version than it is on the live version of Symmetra. I also really enjoy her new turrets. When the patch first went live, I didn't notice too much of a damage increase when they said that they would, but I hope that they patched it to where it feels a bit more formidable. Not 100% certain on that, but it is something I noticed or took note of. Along with the things that I enjoy, I am actually in favor of her teleporter being one of her base abilities. It's felt much more fluid and intuitive for Symmetra, and it does in a way provide utility support in a way, which is kind of funny because she was in the support category, but no, she's currently in attack. But for people who still want a little bit of utility, you have the teleporter. I will say that I wish the teleporter was a little less clunky. I still think there are some things and bugs that they have to iron out, because there was recently a patch which stopped the teleporter from being destroyed randomly, but I came into a couple scenarios where it just happened to explode for no reason. Also, I would like to see if the range was increased just by 5 more meters. Currently it's 25, but I think it would be better suited if it was 30. And the final thing that I really love is the new ultimate. I wouldn't say that I'm obsessed with it, but I will say it's been a lot of fun to use. It, once again, still plays a bit more defensively than rather offensively, but I think it is important to have certain defensive ultimates, as I said previously. The fact that it spans the entire map in a given direction is really fun, and the overall visuals are just so impressive, and it feels satisfying to use. I will probably critique it a little bit more when I get to my cons section, or what I wish would change, which is starting right now. Now for the wonderful world of my dislikes. Right off the bat, I am not super loving or in love with the primary fire. I do think the overall beam is too thin, and I believe that one of the developers had stated before she even came out that it was going to be a bit wider, but overall I don't really feel that it is. I could just be totally making that up and trying to make myself feel better or to give myself some credit, but I do think if the end of the beam and the overall beam itself is a little wider, it would help. I don't mind that they are going away from the lock-on system. I just think if you're going to go away from the lock-on system, make it a little easier for players of Symmetra to, you know, adapt to it over time, because it is a huge deviation from her original design. Next, I would like to see the turret's projectile speed increased to just a tad, just a smidge, maybe like a 5 or 10% increase. Because I have noticed that in heated fights, it is sometimes difficult to throw them out in time for them to stick, because they'll tend to just like get blown up. And it hurts, especially when we only have 3 turrets available and their recharge is still fairly slow. Either I would like for their speed to be increased a little bit, or for them, the base turret stock to be increased by +1. So you start the game with 4 turrets, and you have like always will have 4 turrets being recharged, but you can only place 3. So you kind of have like a free one to be exact. You have like a free one to like just throw, and if in case it gets destroyed, you have like a backup. Furthermore, despite my love of the new teleporter, I do think it is too long to cast. And because Symmetra's new playstyle is so high risk, high reward, she doesn't have a lot of defensive capabilities. And I think people complaining that she should get another ability to have that defense, well, what they're saying is very true, and she should, but I can see it where they make the teleporter the defensive ability. So you don't really need to give her an entirely new ability, just make the teleporter to where its cast time is reduced and its activation time is reduced. I don't want to really see it be instant, but definitely faster, because I think sometimes being instant cast can be a little too powerful, and possibly a little annoying to face off against. But definitely increase that defensive mechanics, because a lot of other offensive characters who get up close, like Tracer, have phenomenal methods of getting out of damage and peeling off and recovering a little bit. Symmetra doesn't really, unless she pre-plans the teleporter. But in the midst of combat, it's hard to pre-plan something, and there's so many variables that you have to account for that it kind of becomes impossible to pre-plan something. And for my final suggestion, it has to deal with the ultimate photon barrier. I do think that it would be better if the photon barrier lasted a bit longer, maybe 18 seconds, perhaps even 20 seconds, because sometimes I feel like, you know, the enemy team can't even get it down to half of its health because it has so much health. It's basically an impenetrable wall. And sometimes it feels a little too short, to be exact, which is a weird feeling because it already lasts for 15 seconds, but that's just something I've thought about. Also, I was recently watching a video where the person was critiquing Symmetra. I'm not sure if it was Hoshi or Luminum or someone else. It might have been someone else. I do apologize, but basically what they had mentioned was to give the photon barrier a secondary mechanic, essentially, to where if an ally passes through it, they gain a temporary 75 shields, kind of like Lucio or Doomfist, where over time it slowly degenerates. And I think this would be a nice homage or callback to the shield generator, which was a very strong ultimate ability, and people have grown to love it. And I think it would also help with the overall defensiveness of Symmetra and giving her some more team utility. And that's about all I have to say about the new Symmetra. I really love this new Symmetra, but I think there's just a couple things that need to be worked out and maybe improved a little bit to solidify her place in Overwatch, because I don't want them to have to do a part 4. Jeff Kaplan, we don't need any more videos of you going, hello Overwatch, we are reworking Symmetra once again. But I think this is a step in the right direction, and I think overall it's an improvement, and that's about all I gotta say. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more content on Overwatch and other games, and comment down below on your thoughts on the Symmetra and who you might want to see touched up a little bit in the future. Other than that, have a wonderful day everyone, and I'll see you guys later. Mwah.